We're on Simon Sadi Beis, Sif Dalet in the Mishnah Berurah. We're talking about, we'll go a little bit back, what we did last week. We're talking about washing before davening. Washing your hands before davening. Right, it says in the Gemara, in Brachos, which was recently covered in Daf Yomi, the way to accept the Hashem's kingship, Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemayim, is to get up, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, and pray. So washing hands, one has to wash hands before davening, whether it's Shacharis, Mincha, Ma'ariv, or whatever. So we're going to have two levels. One level is a person, you know your hands are dirty. What does dirty mean? You went to the bathroom, you scratched your head, you touched a part of your body which is usually covered with clothing that is sweaty, or the like. That's one level. Level two is you're not sure if your hands are dirty. You're not paying attention. You don't know where your hands are the whole day. And first we're going to talk about level one, when you know your hands are dirty. Right? Or when you wake up in the morning, right? We wash our hands. There's two other times that I can think of offhand when we wash our hands. One time is before we eat bread. Right? Let's always wash bread. The other time is when we get up in the morning. The reason we wash our hands when we get up in the morning, one of them is kind of related to before davening a little bit, is because when we're sleeping, we don't know where our hands touched. Maybe our hands touched a place that was dirty or covered. Another reason we wash our hands when we get up in the morning is because a person is a new creation. So for that you have to wash your hands. Then there's a Kabbalistic reason that there is a spirit of impurity that rests on a person when he's sleeping. Now we're going to study the laws of washing hands before davening. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Tzarech lirchos yadav b'mayim im yesh lo, v'im ein lo tzarech lachzor achreihem ad parsa. V'hanimili kishehu holich b'derech, v'mayim nimtzayim lefanav, avalim tzarech lachzor lachrav l'makam mayim ad mil chayzer, yosim mil einu chayzer. So, if a person has water, he has to wash his hands before davening. So let's say you're at home, if you go to shul, right? That's why everyone here in Kollel, right, before mincha, they go wash their hands, because you're supposed to wash your hands before davening. Now, how far do you have to go? Let's say you don't have water for some reason. How far do you have to go? Right, back in the day, they had a well. They didn't have running water, and it's happened. It happened if the water's not working. So, if you're traveling on a trip and you plan to, let's say, rest for the night, but 72 minutes distance, which is the time it takes to travel a parsa, which is a certain measurement, and 72 minutes distance, there's going to be water there. So you have to travel 72 minutes further to get water from there. Now, if it's in front of you, if you're going to Baltimore or something and you want to stop in by exit 7 at the Richard Stockton rest stop, you'd have to go 72 minutes to the Delaware house, to the Delaware rest stop. Now, if it's 18 minutes out of your way, let's say if you know there's water, if you know there's water not in front of you but in back of you or to the side to you, then you have to go 18 minutes. So this halacha isn't super common today because most places do have running water. But this could be if you're camping or something like that. Okay, and he says, he continues, Im misiyar shiyav or zman atfila, yanaki yadav b'tzror or ba'afar or b'chol midi demanki. But if you're worried, let's say that you traveling to get water to wash your hands for davening is going to be too late to daven. Let's say the latest time, let's say the daven mincha hypothetically is 6 p.m. and by the time you get to a place with water, it's going to be past 6 p.m., you can't daven mincha. So then you just wipe your hands on either some rocks or some dirt or anything that cleans your hands.
Question, you said running water before. So a lake isn't running water.
That was, you could use a lake. That wasn't precise. Was not precise what I said.
I just want to go back last week or 2 weeks ago, because you're not allowed to take a shower before you daven mincha in the morning when you wake up.
It's not so simple. It's not so simple if you're allowed to or not. I'll say it like that.
What's that?
It seems that there's opinions both ways. If you could take a shower in the morning before davening.
Yeah.
I believe from the Mishnah Berurah and the Shulchan Aruch, it seems like you can't, but I believe there were some that were lenient. But
because I used to all the time. Now I don't, because you said you can't.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you're listening to the class.
You can't take a shower before Shacharis.
Shacharis, right. Yeah, Shacharis. In the morning you're talking about.
Shacharis,
yeah.
In other words, when I first wake up, I used to take a shower and then put on tefillin and daven Shacharis.
Yeah, it's definitely better to daven first if you can.
That's what I do now.
Because you're not supposed to. The idea is that we're supposed to take care of praying before we take care of any needs Hey, what's up? That we need for ourselves.
Okay.
Okay.
If that's what you say, that's what you say.
It's not me. I'm just reading it.
Okay. Well,
I'm just translating to the best of my ability. Okay. Right. So we're talking about the law that of washing your hands before davening. We said there's two levels. There's if you know your hands are dirty and if you're not sure. So right now we're talking about if you know your hands are dirty. So we said that if you don't have water available, you have to travel 18 minutes out of your way to get water. Or if you're going on a journey, you have to go 72 minutes. If it's on your way, meaning you're going to Baltimore, we said, and you plan to stop in Jersey, but if you go 72 minutes towards Baltimore, you can find water there, then you have to go. But if you have to go towards Philadelphia, then you only have to go 18 minutes. But then we continue that if by traveling to get water, the time of davening is going to pass, then you do not have to go get water, and rather you should just clean your hands on rocks or dirt or something, just like wipe it off. Later we're going to see even a wall you could wipe your hands on in certain situations. Okay, so that was the Shulchan Aruch. So let's see what the Mishnah Berurah is going to comment on the Shulchan Aruch. Also, it's not only Shachris, not only davening the morning service, but also Mincha and Ma'ariv before you have to daven. Before you daven, you have to wash your hands. Bereish Lamed Gimel Sif Beis V'das Harambam Dehechat Tzarich Little Yadav V'lo Natal V'gam Lo Nikos and B'tzorah Afilu B'Diavad Ein Tfilas Atila V'tzarich In Ladina. Very interesting. Do you know the Rambam? He says the Rambam holds that if a person doesn't wash his hands before davening and then he davens, it doesn't count. His davening doesn't count. But it doesn't seem like we paskin like that. But just to see that there are those opinions that take this halacha very seriously. Right? Yeah, the Mishnah Berurah says, or according to the Rambam technically, that it would seem if you don't wash your hands and you daven, since it doesn't count, you would have to daven again. Right? So you drive all the way to the kollel for mincha. Right? It's 15, 20 minutes to get here, wherever. You don't wash your hands and then you daven. You got to daven again according to the Rambam. But we don't pass like that. So it's not halacha. The halacha is if you daven without washing your hands, then you don't daven again. So he says that you do not have to dry your hands, although for cleanliness purposes, or if you're shaking someone's hands, practically it's probably a good idea to clean your hand, to dry your hands. You don't have to do it here. Now, why is he addressing this? Because when you wash your hands for bread, then you do have to dry your hands. Right? It's important that the drying of the hands is necessary for eating bread. So he says that this whole thing about traveling to get water, that's only when you know your hands are dirty. But if your hands are, if you don't know if your hands are dirty, which are called stam yadayim, the word stam is just like, stam. How do you say stam? Stam. It's just parv. You don't know. Yes, no, neutral. We'll go neutral. If the hands are neutral, they might be dirty, they might not. Right? You're not paying attention to where your hands are the whole day. Then that's not what we're talking about here. We'll talk about that in the next sif. If you have to go so far for water that you're going to have to go travel by yourself, right? Back in the day, that was very dangerous, also to travel by yourself. Then you don't have to go. Or if by getting the water, it's going to take you so long, like you're going to miss work or something, you don't have to get the water. Okay, here he says there's a whole debate we mentioned before about some of the times that are given of how far you have to go for certain things, like how far do you have to go for a minyan, or how far do you have to go for water. So it's given in a distance, not a time measurement. It says the distance of, you have to go a mil, let's say, 18 minutes, right? You have to go, let's say, 18 minutes you have to go for a minyan. So does just the halacha wasn't said in time as 18 minutes, it says you have to go the distance of a mil, which is, I think even might be less than a mile, or somewhere around that. But it takes 18 minutes to travel by walking that distance. So now if you drive a car, does that mean the time in the car, 18 minutes, or the mile in the car, which is significantly less? So usually we say that it means the time, meaning if you have a car, you have to drive 18 minutes for the minyan. If it's Shabbos and you can only walk, then you have to only walk 18 minutes for the minyan. But here, for some reason, the Mishnah Berurah seems to say that riding is the same as walking here, that you would go after the distance and not the time. So that's something which just needs to be investigated, of why here it sounds a little different than other places. But I just wanted to raise that because we mentioned that before. Well, they had wagons and...
Still horse drawn or donkey drawn or whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't very fast.
Yeah, I just know from Back to the Future 3...
If you just jump on the
go
horse...
24 miles an hour.
That's different. But if you're taking like a cart... Or
right. Yeah, no...
Stagecoach or something, horses just basically trot. They don't really run.
Right. Yeah. Or if you have the ideas, if you have a faster way of completing that distance, do you go by time or do you go by distance? But nowadays it does make a big difference because I looked on a map.
Travel at 60 miles an hour.
No, yeah, for sure. But like my house. Yeah, no, davening with a minyan is important, but not driving on Shabbos is more important because it involves. It says, Lo Savar Eish, you're not allowed to start a fire. So every time you put your foot on the gas pedal, it starts a spark. So that's much worse than not davening with a minyan. Okay, let's go further. La'achra, we said, V'kol shechein kishehu yoshev v'beiso, the same when you're sitting in your house, you don't have to go 18 minutes. V'vadei chayev, la'achsor l'chatchila achar mayim yimedeh sheyadav l'chlachos, fine. Admil v'harei poskim sovrim demil atzmo. Just the technical thing that we said 18 minutes. What if it's exactly 18 minutes? Do you have to go then? So he says that, no, then you don't have to go. That's like more than 18 minutes. But if that ever, if that ever happens, then you can address it then.
No.
No, please. We're just saying, do you have to, we're talking about washing before you davening. So we mentioned before that if you can't get water, yep, hello, yes?
No,
you're waving. I thought you had a question.
No,
I was going to say, you don't have to raise your hand.
Okay.
You could just yell it out.
Okay.
Not school. Ooh. Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I'm kind of glad I'm out of that. Right, we said that if you're going to miss davening time, right? Let's say mincha. You have to latest time to daven mincha is 6 p.m. And you know by the time you go to the well and get the water and wash your hands, it's going to be 6:05. It's going to be too late to daven mincha. So what do? You clean your hands on the table or on the rocks or whatever, and then you daven. Now, what if the Mishnah Berurah says another scenario? Vim hu b'makom sheyesh sham asara shemispalem vim yachzor achar ma'am yavor zman tfilas at tzibur. If you're going to miss davening with a minyan, even if you're going to miss davening with a minyan, then you don't have to go after the water. Right? This is different. If you remember, we had the halacha about if you have to go to the bathroom. If you have to go to the bathroom and you're going to miss davening with a minyan, it's more important to go to the bathroom first. But when it comes to washing, that's not as important to forego davening with a minyan. Okay. Yanake yadav. Also, also, all the more so for Shema, right? You should wash your hands before saying Shema also, not just saying the Shemona Esrei. And if you are going to Devadai Asr lo lahamtin al mayim im yesh chashash Hashem yavor zman al yanake v'yikra v'yesh harbe poskim shesovrim to be kriya Shema tekev kishagia haschalas zmana im ein lo mayim yanake v'yikra v'layamtin al mayim. So the case is like this: you wake up, you want to say Shema. Do you have to? And you know someone's going to bring you water to wash. Should you wait till they bring you water, or should you just say Shema right away after wiping them or something? Because Shema, if you remember, the mitzvah to daven Shemona Esrei is only a rabbinic requirement, whereas the mitzvah to say Shema is a biblical requirement. So the Mishnah Berurah says here, when it comes to Shema, there are many that say, don't even bother waiting at all for water, because you don't want to run the risk of maybe the water coming too late and you forget to say Shema. Right? Shema is very important because it's on the Torah level. So he says just wipe your hands and say Shema. That's the opinion of many many rabbis.
Could you say Shema as many times as you want during the day?
Yes, just not with the blessings.
Huh?
Not with the blessings. Right? You have in Shachris you have the blessings before and after Shema. You can say Shema, but not with the blessings. That's only, the first time you say it.
Like if you get up at night and you feel like saying it, you could say it?
Sure. It's great. It's a verse in the Torah. You get a mitzvah of learning Torah when you say Shema. In addition to the mitzvah of Shema, when you say Shema, you also get a mitzvah of learning Torah, which is one of the greatest mitzvahs you can do. Right? Okay. So let's go to the more. It's funny. I didn't even realize as we're learning, we're talking about cleaning your hands. I just scratched my leg, and didn't even realize. And if you touch something uncovered, you should wash your hands. But I just wiped it. So, okay. Let's go to halacha hey. Rachatz yadav shachris. If you wash your hands in the morning, v'siach daito, and you're not paying attention to him. paying attention to them. So you get up in the morning, you wash your hands, and you drive to shul. So the whole drive and whatever else you're doing, maybe you stopped at Dunkin' Donuts for a coffee, you're not paying attention, right, of where your hands were going. When you get to shul, you should wash your hands again if you have water. Even though you're not sure if they're dirty, they might be fine. Do not make a blessing. And he says that if, let's say there's no water at the shul, you don't have to go looking for the water. So earlier when we were talking about a case when you know your hands are dirty, then you have to go and you have to actually go a certain amount of distance to get the water. But in this case, where you just weren't paying attention to your hands, you washed when you got up, and you drove to Dunkin' Donuts, then you drove to the shul, you weren't paying attention to your hands, so then you have to wash your hands, but if you don't have water, you don't have to go around looking for it. Now, in a case where, like, you have Union Hill, Mincha Marv, do you have to wash your hands, after you daven Mincha, then you're going to daven Marv 10 minutes later, do you have to wash your hands again? So if you're paying attention to your hands, seemingly not, right? As long as you're aware of your hands that you didn't scratch something, but if you're just spacing out and you're doing whatever with your hands and maybe you scratched your head, you're not paying attention, then you would have to wash your hands. And very important that sometimes when we wash our hands, we make a bracha, like when we get up in the morning or when we eat bread. We do not make a bracha when we wash before davening. And whether you wash before the karpas and the Pesach, most people do not, and I think some do.
When you say wash, you mean soap and water wash, or you mean
just so there's just really all you need. It sounds to the letter of law is just under the sink with water. Some rabbis hold that you should use a cup and just fill up with cup and wash like that. But it seems like you really don't have to. Like when you learn the laws of washing for bread, the Shulchan Aruch has a lot of details about how the vessel has to be, how big it has to be, can there be holes in the vessel, whereas here he doesn't have that discussion at all. So it just from reading it just sounds like you have to, just under the sink. But there are some opinions that say preferably, you should use a vessel. But again, if you don't have a vessel, that's definitely not a big deal at all.
3 times?
No.
Just one to one?
I think just once each. Yeah. Okay.
Except for bread.
Oh yeah, bread's totally different. Bread, the halachas of each washing are different, right? The way we do it in the morning, we use a cup also. That's 1 on 1 6 times, right?
6 times.
Well, yeah, 3 on each.
3 each, okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Same.
And an important thing is when you wash, sometimes the water doesn't get over here, so you have to move your hand around. Just try to get the water all around your hand. Unless it's Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av, then you only want it till here. Okay. Ulechein. Oh, no, wrong line. The Ramah adds, "V'afilo ha'yadav meluchlachos v'noton letfila einu mevarich." He says, even if you know your hands are dirty and you wash before davening, do not make a bracha on washing of the hands. There is absolutely never a bracha on washing on your hands before davening. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah on this. V'hesiach daito. Rotzalomar shehiflik harbe ben hanatila letfila. Ad shehesiach daito. V'kol shchein shayach hesach hadas ben hanatila shel shachar letfila mincha. Oh, so we said that you have to wash again when you took your mind off of your hands. So what does that mean, you take your mind off? So the Mishnah Berurah says it means shehiflik harbe. There was a lot of time between the time you washed your hands and davening. So what is a lot of time? It's subjective. But I would think, again, like at Union Hill, when you have Mincha Marv, and one's right after the other, that doesn't seem like you would have to. His example of what a lot of time is actually, or a Kol Shechein, he says, all the more so, that between washing your hands in the morning and Mincha, that's considered a lot of time. Right? So that could be, 6, 7 hours, whatever. But, okay. Since you didn't pay attention to your hands, they're dirty. And maybe you touched someplace dirty. Oh, very interesting. But this is only when everything we're talking about, whenever we say davening, we mean Shmona Esrei. Every time we say it, we mean the 18 blessing prayer. In that case, if you have what we said are stam yadayim, where they might be dirty, they might not, you're not paying attention, that's when you have to wash. But when it comes to saying Shema or studying Torah, you do not have to wash. So let's say you come into the kollel and you don't know if your hands are dirty, you don't know if they are, you don't know if they're not, you don't have to go wash your hands. But if you're coming to the kollel for mincha and you don't know what the deal with your hands are, then you would have to wash. So that would be a difference. But there's another opinion that says for Shema that you would have to. Okay. Ein sarach. Ve'afal pikein sarach l'nakos hasan b'midei de menaki. Oh, a case. Let's say you have these stam yadayim. You're not sure if they're dirty or not, but you can't find water. What do you do? So he says you should, just wipe them on something. So maybe there's a little
there's
feces
so
on
many
there.
opinions. Whose opinion do you listen to?
That's true. So you have to know the rules of psak, and you have to have a rabbi, to ask questions. You're right. There's a lot of rules about how you paskin like somebody or who you go with. One example is if you have one rabbi say something and you have 10 rabbis say another thing, you go with the majority. Right? The Torah says achrei rabbim lahatos. To go after the majority. That's one rule. There's a lot of different rules. But the important thing is that's why in Judaism, right, we don't just learn from books. Everyone needs a teacher, needs a rebbe. So you could the person is guided and ask the rebbe which opinion he should go like. Right? Everyone has. That's why there's different opinions in Judaism if you have a Masorah, if you have a tradition from your teacher to his teacher to his teacher. Right? That doesn't mean every opinion is valid. You can't just make something up. If you have a tradition, then usually it's valid. Okay? Fine. A little further. Any questions? Okay. What about this? What if you're davening Shemona Esrei and you remember that your hands are dirty? You had scratched your head before davening Shemona Esrei. Shemona Esrei, you're not allowed to move. What do you do? So he says if you can, you wipe your hands on some dirt or the wall or some rocks, whatever's around. There's a table, wipe them. The Mishnah Berurah comments: "Omid betfila, avalim omid b'kriyas shema o b'psuka dezimra tzarich leilik v'lital yadav." But if you are in pesuka dezimra or shema, you're allowed to move. So then you could go up and you could wash your hands with water. This is also if you catch yourself scratching your head during Shemona Esrei, this is the same thing. Okay, that's that halacha. Zvav, Zayin. Makom metunaf. Oh, so what we keep saying, touching a dirty place. What is a dirty place? So makom metunaf, hainu mikomos hamuchasim be'adam lefi sheyesh behem milmulei zeya. There are places that are covered that have sweat. V'cheini michichich harosh. Or if you scratch your head. So I was discussing with Rabbi Bresler this morning. I wasn't so clear. Does that mean every part that's covered is sweaty? Meaning, for sure, like under your arms, it's pretty sweaty and it's covered. But like, what about up on your arm here? So I'm not 100% clear on that. I have to do some research. But scratching your head, it's a problem. It's also prohibited to touch these places when we're davening, or when we're learning. And he says also one should not touch his earwax or boogers. Is how you snot when he is learning Torah. Now it's going to be a different opinion than Mishnah Berurah. We'll read that in a second. Okay, osik b'Torah ubediyevet dai b'nikayim ba'alma l'Torah u'lebrachos af al pi sheyesh lo mayim. It says if you have nothing else when you're studying Torah, really just wiping the hands. You don't have to actually go and wash them. You can just really wipe them. It sounds like preferably you should, if you touch a dirty place when you're learning Torah, you should go wash them. But if you don't have a choice, then you can just wipe them. So Simon Dalad, Mishnah Berurah, v'im naga batid v'refes. It's like some. I forgot what it is. I looked it up this morning. I have to look that up. Skip that line, sorry. I'll skip that. The Vilna Gaon is lenient when it comes to stuff coming out of your ears or your nose. And so the Shari Tshuva also writes that in the Moroktzia. So again, we have two opinions, like Murray likes. According to the Ramal, you really shouldn't be picking your nose when you're learning Torah. You'd have to, clean your hands after that. According to the Vilna Gaon, you really don't have to clean your hands. So, probably just don't pick your nose, or at least in front of me, don't do it. Appreciate that. And all right, let's stop here because that's the end of the laws of washing your hands before davening. And then next week we have just actually. Yes, some other halachas about davening, and then the next siman, which is coming very soon, is about how one should prepare before davening, the proper mindset before going into praying. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.